Today on Dice to Pixels, he's back.
Hi.
That was anticlimactic.
I've been dealing with back pain for like 3 weeks now.
That's right. Yeah.
Still am. Yay. Hooray for getting older.
Yeah. Right.
All that fun.
Yeah, it is the curse.
Yeah. But I haven't been here in a while, so Adrian, tell me a story.
I will tell you a story, Chad. I'll tell you the best story. I'm going to tell a very brief story about, and you'll know exactly where I'm going with this if you're up with Xbox news. I'm going to tell you the story of Tango Gameworks. Very, very high level. We're not going to go into too much detail. So, March 2010, it was founded with 12 people. So it was the CEO, whose name I'm going to not pronounce most of these names because I'll fuck them up.
Can you use the first letter?
Actually the CEO is Mikami. I think that's close to right. It's the other ones that.
Fair enough.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Shinji Mikami.
Yes, yeah. So founded with 12 other developers, or 12 developers. I don't think he was a developer. And then, so just to give you an idea of the early days here, founded in March of 2010, basically went bankrupt in October 2010. So about 5 months. Yeah. Bought by Bethesda at that point. So this was a game studio that had not released a game yet when they were bought due to financial problems. So that probably sets the stage a little bit for some later events. So by 2012, nothing much had come out of it. They were busy working on Evil Within, as we know now, but
which is ironic because Shinji Mikami was one of the spearheads for the Resident Evil series.
Yeah, so he actually left specifically because wanted to be able to explore more of the genre without just being Resident Evil all the time. So that was the impetus for founding it in the first place. So by 2012, they were up to about 65 people. That's the best number I could find from an interview. And still heads down working. It wasn't until 2014 that they released the Evil Within. And shortly after that, actually, and we'll see a bit of a pattern on this too, Mikami stepped back from the role as like the CEO, I guess, to give other people in the company room to grow. But from what I can tell, that never really happened. So keep in mind, we're talking like sort of mid-ish 2014, Evil Within comes out, and late 2014, he's stepping back. Not leaving, but stepping back. Fast forward 3 years, Evil Within 2 comes out. Fairly well received, decent game. Evil Within made pretty good money. Evil Within 2 made decent money, but it's a sequel, so they usually don't do as well. And then in 2019, and this is interesting because it's about midway between Evil Within 2 and their next game, the creative director left. And that's a name I'm not even going to take a crack at. If you want to, you're more than welcome to.
I'm trying to find it.
So this was about midway between the games. The next game that they did release, so 2021, I should say, they were bought by Microsoft. Just to be clear, if anyone's like, they weren't bought by Bethesda earlier, they were bought by ZeniMax. Yes, but Bethesda was part of ZeniMax and was the reason they got bought. 2021, they got bought by Microsoft. And that was about 2 years again after the creator, a year and a half after the creative director left. So at this point, we're starting to lose a little bit of the leadership.
Yeah.
The creative director was Ikumi Nakamura.
Okay, that's actually not as bad as I remembered it being. And 2022, March of 2022, they released Hero Dice, which was a complete fucking failure. It was a mobile game. And it was actually released under ZeniMax, but it was built by Tango Gameworks. So that they shut that down in like 5 months, like just completely abandoned it in 5 months. It was a complete shit show. And then August of that year, 2022 again, is when they killed it off. And then right around then, I didn't get the date for this, but it doesn't really matter. Ghostwire Tokyo came out, which of course is one of their well-known games. It was popular. It wasn't exactly a sales bonanza.
It was initially PlayStation exclusive
Yes.
for, I think, the first year, because it just came to Xbox a few months ago. So
yeah. And it came to Game Pass specifically.
Yeah.
And I had to do a little bit of estimation on this because the best number I could find is that 6 million players have played it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's after it came to Game Pass, which means hard to say. So Ghostwire Tokyo did fine, but it wasn't gangbusters.
Yeah.
At this point, they're almost certainly burning cash faster than they're bringing it in. Given the gap between their games and everything else, they're almost certainly losing money at this point. 2023, beginning of 2023, of course, Hi-Fi Rush comes out. Everybody loved Hi-Fi Rush. Great game.
With no build.
No build, yeah.
No build whatsoever.
Like day of announced drop, which if you want to shit on Xbox and Microsoft for doing something, shit on them for this, because honestly, that was probably really fucking dumb on their part.
No, I disagree.
No?
I love announcements and day one drops because there's no hype decrease at all. Anyway,
as a customer, I love them.
Yeah.
As a this studio is not making a ton of money and we need to hype it up.
Yeah.
Probably a mistake.
Yes. That's how
I remember that too, because we did a show. We talked about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I immediately went home because when I first seen this trailer for Hi-Fi Rush, I was just the rhythm-based combat with a Devil May Cry style, stylish, action adventure game. Hell yeah. I got home, downloaded that bitch, and I played the shit out of it.
Yeah, and you loved it. And many people did.
It was a game of the year for some outlets. So.
I have not seen anybody saying it was a bad game. But at the same time, best numbers I could find was about 3 million players, which is for a Game Pass game, that's not tremendous. Now, there was an interview where I didn't write down the name, but it doesn't matter. One of the Xbox sort of marketing heads had said that Hi-Fi Rush had missed their targets. That seems to have been a bit of a misquote. It's not that they missed them; it's that they barely met them. So it was it did okay, sales wise, game wise, it was great. They did okay game wise. But I think what actually killed the studio and made Microsoft shut it down, which we're going to talk about that. Obviously, I'm leading into this. Mikami left fully in February. So Hi-Fi Rush was released in January. He left in February. At that point, your lead designer left, the one that had sort of guided the company for a while has left. Now, the founder of it has left. This tells a story of a studio in shambles to me.
Yeah.
It was sold twice. Within a few months of starting it in the first place, they went bankrupt. This was not a super well managed studio in the first place.
Does not sound like it.
I have every reason to believe that this was a defunct studio. And then obviously May, 2 days ago or whatever, Microsoft shut it down. So it is no more. And the reason I'm talking about this is because we're going to talk about the Xbox drama, because, oh my God, people are furious about Xbox. Xbox is dead. Get rid of Game Pass. Microsoft's dead, whatever. Obviously nonsense. But a lot of people were talking about Tango Gameworks and how, outwardly, it looks like a great studio. They made some banger games. But when you actually look into it, it's but a lot of those games were a long way apart. They took a long way to build those games, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just if you're going to take that long to build a game, it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And these guys kind of didn't.
I say with the Hi-Fi Rush to me was probably like their best game.
Sure, but
in my
sales wise,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know
revenue wise.
Yeah, and I don't know
wasn't
what
a banger. It was decent.
I don't know what the sales numbers are like for the PlayStation release. I bought it when it came out on PlayStation. I bought it 100% because it was, like I said, it was my number 2 game of 23.
Yeah.
If there was no Sea of Stars that year, my game of the year would have been Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah. So to be clear, I could not find sales numbers for it.
Yeah.
I found player count, and usually, if you're finding player count, it's because the sales aren't really anything to write home about.
Mhm.
They'd rather talk player count.
Yeah, because all they say here is 3 million between purchased and Game Pass subscriptions.
Right. So usually what that translates to is we'd tell you the sales if it was less embarrassing. Now, that's not to say it was a failure outright. And look, if Mikami hadn't left the month after it released, they might not have shut it down.
Yeah.
But Microsoft has said in the past, one of the major things that results in studios shutting down, and you can go back and verify this, by the way. This is not me talking. This is both from Microsoft, and I checked a little bit. This is reality. When game studios that they buy, when the leaders leave, they go on the chopping block. Not every time, but a lot of the time. If you go back and look at the ones that they've closed, a lot of them are the studio leads left.
And in some ways that kind of makes sense because that's the people that started the studio. That's the creative drive behind that studio.
Yeah.
And when they don't, it's like a ship without its captain or without a rudder. It's just kind of floating there. Like,
Yeah. So now the other half of that is I didn't see any mention of any of the developers being rolled into the rest of the studio.
Yeah.
They didn't announce it publicly one way or the other. I just didn't see any of the developers like talking on X or anything. I'm guessing that it wasn't that functional from a development stance either.
Mm-hmm.
I have no basis for that other than if they were a kick-ass team developing kick-ass stuff, yes, shut down the studio, but roll that team into another studio and let them crack on.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have been talking about a Hi-Fi Rush sequel and everything else. That might still get built. Like the IP isn't gone.
Nope.
Microsoft still owns it. They just shut down the actual like team because presumably it wasn't executing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the history kind of backs that up. Like, yeah, the Ghostwire and Hi-Fi, like they came out pretty soon together and they were both pretty good games, but neither one of them were like
Went gangbusters.
Yeah, like Ghostwire was a AAA price.
Yeah.
And it did okay, but it wasn't amazing. Like
Yeah.
it was $60 when it was released.
Yeah. But I
Hi-Fi
kind of
was indie priced.
Yeah.
And so I think it did better. Like I think it did closer to the sort of numbers that they wanted. But again, by Microsoft's own statements, like it was okay financially.
Yeah.
Game, yeah, great game, but financially it was like,
Yeah.
And then the studio leaves. Well, come on.
Yeah. Yep.
And honestly, like out of the games that we've talked about so far in the
And that's all
library,
of them, by the way.
Yeah. Like The Evil Within, I wasn't that impressed by it because to me it was just the same like over the shoulder third person survival horror game that I mean, you've seen like God of War uses the same perspective, but they do it way better. Resident Evil, it just reminded me of just a different kind of Resident Evil-ish game.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't nothing wow to me kind of shit.
It's kind of the opposite of Hi-Fi Rush in that, like, game-wise, it was nothing special, but sales-wise, it hit their mark.
Yeah.
Like, it did pretty well for them. So.
Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo, I wasn't impressed with at all. Like, sure, it looked great, but I wasn't really. I started playing it when it was on Game Pass, and initially I was just it didn't hook me.
Yeah, it had its following.
Yeah,
but that's not a very glowing review for a AAA priced game.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
whereas Hi-Fi Rush, it had a unique look. It had a unique gameplay mechanic. It had like back when the games had like levels and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like you had levels for a game, right? Like, and they added a bunch of free content afterwards, extra modes and like a tower and all that stuff. Cool, great. Like I said, I played the hell out of it on Xbox. I'm not done, but I'm still playing the hell out of it, sort of, because I'm in between games. I'm playing something else right now. But yeah. And
like I hope that Hi-Fi Rush as an intellectual property persists, but there's also no reason it won't. Like I've seen a lot of people who are frankly dumbasses talking like, "Oh, Hi-Fi Rush, it was such a great game. It's so sad." And it's like, well, it's not going anywhere.
No.
Like it's fine. Like the people who are saying like, oh, I was hoping for a sequel, or like, oh, I was hoping for DLC. It's like, okay, I get that.
Yep.
But like I've seen a ton of people being like, oh, get your physical copy while you can. It's like they're not going to stop making it.
Yeah.
You dumb fuck.
Yeah.
The game's built.
Yeah.
And like people are enjoying it. It's being played. Why would they make it disappear? Like,
Right?
that'd be weird.
Like people are conflating this idea of like this game was great, and I think that's true of all of the studios that Microsoft closed, where they're saying like, this was a great game. Sure. That doesn't mean it was a great studio.
Yeah.
And if you look into these studios, each of them had their reasons for closing.
It sounds like a lot of them were great studios for developing the game itself. They were bad business decisions, like bad business people.
Yes. Yeah, and that's common in the game industry. To be clear, that's super fucking common in the game industry. And like Microsoft, even the keeping developers on, like to some degree, unless they're a really good team that works super well together, it's not like Microsoft has any shortage of game developers.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like,
And Arcane Studios, Arcane Austin, they were another one that Microsoft shut down. I'm going to attribute that one probably mostly due to the piss poor reception that Redfall got.
I think that one was as a result of Redfall. It was not a well-built game and not well received.
Yeah.
I think that one actually they shut down because it sucked.
Yeah, because with Arcane Studios, the Dishonored 1 and 2 are both critically acclaimed games, fantastic games. They also came out with like a remake of Prey, which when Prey initially released, I think back on the Xbox 360 Xbox 360,
That's right.
it was very different to how they interpreted like the same game. Their Wolfenstein games sucked. They were not well received.
I don't think they sucked per se.
They weren't good compared to like the ones that.
Which ones did they release?
So they did Youngblood and Cyberpilot.
Oh, okay. Sorry, no, those ones weren't very good.
And they were also co-developed by Machine Games as well. So
okay, fair enough.
Not good. Deathloop was a unique little.
It was okay.
It was fun. It was
but
pretty
again,
decent.
not a reason to keep a studio around. On its own.
No. And
it's also kind of a niche game.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Well, it's a roguelike. Well,
Yeah.
it's not a rogue. It's a roguelike. Yeah, it is a roguelike.
Yeah.
But then they also at the Game Awards, the trailer for Marvel's Blade, Arcane Studios was, I guess, working on that. Who knows now? So,
well, they're not clearly,
No.
but I'm sure somebody is. And that's the other thing. Like, I think people have this confusion where it's like, oh, the team got shut down, therefore this game is completely dead. It's like that maybe, but that A doesn't equal B in that. They could easily shift that IP to another team.
I wonder if that's like a leftover of maybe thinking from like back in the 90s and early 2000s where that probably would have been the result of it.
Yeah, like how many times have we heard about a studio getting bought and like them getting reassigned to another IP?
Yeah.
Happens all the time. They'll build whatever they think is going to make them money.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there was even a quote here. I believe the lady, Xbox president Matt Booty had said that Redfall flopping wasn't the reason why Arcane Austin was closed.
I know. Well, okay, so to be clear, I don't think that Redfall flopping directly was. Like, I don't think they saw it and said, oh, sales were bad, fuck you, we're shutting your studio. Because honestly, they don't usually do that. Microsoft actually has a pretty clean track record on this. I looked into it.
Yeah.
But I think because of, like, Redfall didn't just fall short on finances. It was also buggy as shit. It wasn't really a good game to begin with. So it's one of those, like, when you have all of those problems stacked up, how good is the game studio that built it, right?
Right.
Symptoms of a problem, right? So anyways, all of that to say, it pays to actually look into this stuff because I've seen so much fucking fake outrage about, and to be clear, I get that people are mad that a game studio got shut down that they liked. That's fine. It's the people who are, oh, Xbox is dead. Get rid of your Xbox and, you better pawn it while it's worth something and shit. Like, I see that shit all over and I'm like, obviously they're dumbass trolls. But there's so many of them that it's like, they're not just dumbass trolls. There are people that legitimately think that way.
They're the people that busted up their, who's it? Oh my God. Sorry, lost my words. Just ignore me.
What, recently or?
No, like 2 years ago.
We'll come back to you.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's
Loading.
like the same fake outrage that D&D had.
Yeah, exactly.
With their stuff.
And that's when I tweeted about it, I said, like, you know, first Wizards was dead, then Sony was dead, and Nintendo's going to be dead next week. It's like, fuck off with that stuff. A couple of game studios, 4 in this case, are not going to make or break Xbox, right?
Nope.
Now, there is one other bit of Xbox news. Actually, there's 2 things. First of all, for some reason, and these people must legitimately lick Windows. There are people that are bitching because they're going to rename it officially to Microsoft Gaming instead of Xbox. And it's like, okay, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you care? And B, Microsoft Gaming makes way more sense. Because
didn't Microsoft make games before Xbox was even
yeah. Well, this is the thing. Like, Microsoft Gaming has always existed.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird that there was Microsoft Gaming and Xbox, and that like I can play Xbox on my PC because it's. But then there's also the Xbox. Like, it didn't make sense. Now it will make sense, and
honestly,
people are mad about that.
Honestly, playing Xbox, like saying Xbox Gaming on PC, it's always been like a weird little thing to me because I'm like, Xbox is a console.
It's super fucking weird.
I don't know.
Well,
so anyways, yeah.
So it's the Game Pass rebrand. Like, they're rebranding, instead of Xbox Game Pass, it'll be Microsoft's Game Pass.
Yeah, which, like,
who fucking cares?
Right? I mean, okay, Jesus putting Christ. It in that context, to me, if it's saying Microsoft Game Pass...
Right, but before it was like Xbox PC Game Pass, which is like dumb.
Too much,
right? Like, Microsoft Game Pass makes more sense.
Yeah. Saying the words out loud actually made me rethink it, because at first I'm like, but if you have Microsoft in front of it, it makes me think of other software. But I'm like, no, Game Pass is in the name, dumbass.
Anyway, so I wanted to mention that because I was like, oh my God, people, come on. But then the other thing that we were going to mention, in case you missed it, some really good news out of Microsoft, is that they are intending for all first-party titles to be released day one on Game Pass.
That includes...
starting sometime in the near future.
That includes Call of Duty.
Yeah, for those who play it.
And now you can save your money.
And the implication from what I saw was that first party includes Activision. It includes like everything. So that'd make Game Pass way better.
Yeah.
That means Hellblade 2 too, doesn't it?
Well, they already announced that. That's coming.
Well, you know what? Shut up.
Yeah. Come on, Chad. It's your birthday. Not quite.
Not quite. Actually, yeah, Sarah's birthday is this Sunday, so I mean,
it's tomorrow if you're watching on Saturday.
Yeah, tomorrow. I'm a Mother's Day.
It's true.
It's this mother's birthday. For baby mama.
Word place.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant motherfucker. Like this motherfucker.
No, that's
birthday.
me.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad we're not monetized.
Anyway.
Yeah. So anyways, and then, yeah, so that does it with Xbox. Now, because we've said some nice things about Xbox today, and I've defended them a bit, so people will be calling me a shill.
Of course. That's what we are. We're paid directly thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Literally, the bag of money is sitting just off screen. It's right over there.
It's got the big money signs on it.
Where's my Xbox hat?
We should. I defended PlayStation in our last week's episode because people were being idiots. However, I think we also need to give PlayStation/Sony their due.
Yeah.
They've walked back the decision.
Honestly, surprising.
You know what? I'm shocked. Like, honestly, this was a big deal because they are undoubtedly losing money somehow from this, or at least potential signups to play PSN or whatever.
Yep.
So kudos to Sony. I mean, on the people who were like super pissed about it, I'm like, go fuck yourself. You signed, like you agreed to a contract, basically. On the other hand, great on Sony for hearing them out.
You're all about Sony. Where's your millions of dollars?
No, that Sony bag's over here.
Oh.
But I will say, as of yesterday when I was looking, they walked that back, but they hadn't actually re-enabled the Steam purchases in the countries that don't have PSN. So people are like, but I refunded my Helldivers and now I want it back. And honestly, for those people, I'm like, wow, you had every reason to refund. That's fine.
Yeah.
But for the other people that refunded, I'm like, you should be locked out. Fuck you. You can never buy it again.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I've talked lots. Chad, tell us what you've been playing.
Yeah, well, I've had lots of time to play games and stuff. I've gotten into Stellar Blade. Kind of soulsy, but also not as punishing as like a typical Souls. Like, it's fun. The world looks, apocalyptic, and I mean, the main character looks great no matter what view you're looking at it from.
Bum
Yeah.
cheeks and boots.
Oh god, yeah, and like just jiggle. Whenever I die, I blame it on that. But there's actually another one that I bought called Tales of Kizera. Zhao. It's the one that when we were watching the Game Awards, I believe he was the voice actor that did the voice for Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins, and he gave a very emotional speech about how his dream was to make a game with his dad, I believe, and his father had passed away, but he made this game, and it's like a Metroidvania, but visually it reminds me a lot of Ori and the Blind Forest. Very bright. Really, really cool. I'm going to get into this. I just want to say that I got it, but I'm going to get into it because it's a good price. Right now, I think it's like $29.99 on everything except for Xbox, because Xbox is a bit cheaper if you have like Game Pass Ultimate. So yeah, I'm going to get into that. And then, my Sea of Stars physical exclusive edition is going to be shipping soon from im8bit.com, so I can't wait to play that again on the Switch.
Gotta play that one again.
Yeah, and mobile. I've been playing a new game called Dragon Pow. It's just basically like a vertical shooter with like dragons. It's pretty fun. I've been digging it. I like the art style of it, and the rest of my time has been with my band, Heels to Headboard. We're getting ready to do a show May 25th in Waterloo, Ontario at Maxwell's.
Woo.
So if you're in town and you want to come see a bunch of loud heavy metal bands play some shit some music too.
I have intentions on being there.
Yeah. So we'll be the first band up, so we get to open the night off, and that means we can fuck around for the rest of the night.
Yeah. Nice. Get to join the drinking crew after the set.
Hey, we'll see.
Sarah?
Yeah, I played a new game that has just been released, and looking it up, a lot of people are loving it too. It's Little Kitty Big City.
Mm.
It's basically it's like the cozy version of Stray. Thank you. Buffering. But yeah, it's like, I think the impression that a lot of people had for Stray, where you just get to wander around a city and be a cat, this is that game finally, and it's cute and it's fun, and I'm super enjoying it. Although I did notice with a few people when I was looking it up, they were getting soft locked for certain things, not being able to get back in certain areas because they fell through the earth or something like that. And I'm having the same issues. So you can find and buy hats for your cat. And the ones that you buy, you get them from like the crank machines. And it's a crow that knows how to put in the coins and turn the crank.
That's awesome.
Yes. And so the first one you come across, I only bought 2 of the hats, being like, oh, maybe I need the coins or whatever called shinies. Maybe I'll need shinies for something else. Newsflash, you don't. And now the crow won't come back, so I can't get the last 2 hats. So I think I might be kind of completion locked there.
Fucker.
I'm wondering if maybe it's a bug or something. I don't know.
No, it was a crow. You said it was a crow.
There is a bug in the game, though.
Yeah.
Just one?
I've only come across one.
Okay.
It had a cell phone.
Well, okay. All right.
So hyper realistic then.
Super. Yeah.
Cool.
We're gonna wrap it up in just a second. I just want to quickly mention that I finally got season 2 of the Legacy game that starts with a P that I'm breaking things that we're apparently not allowed to say on YouTube.
Yes.
Our videos trounced.
Party Town.
The Party Town.
Party
yes,
Town.
The Demic.
Yes.
The illness game.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
We've been playing Frosthaven, but I think we're going to take a break and play some Season 2. We'll just call it Season 2.
Season 2 of Party Town.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cool. And with that, I think we'll let Chad stand up because his back's bogging him.
Yeah,
And
my back's bothering me.
we'll catch you next week.
Yeah. Also, too, just a little homage here to Bob Barker. Help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered.
Yay.